Welcome, everyone. We are so happy, we're so thrilled to be able to host you guys this evening. We truly appreciate the partnerships. It's partnerships like this that make us mutually successful. I'd also like to introduce to you all Oliver Fischenbach, who's the president of Western Europe and North America.
Thanks for being here. Welcome.
So you can see how we're really embracing that Japanese heritage. Japan has an incredible culture where in so many disciplines, in so many industries, there's a level of precision and a level of mastery. And that's why this Sensei events we're rolling out to highlight that and really highlight those masters in our industry, senseis within our own field. Especially when we talk about MiYOSMART tonight, you'll meet some of our key opinion leaders, as we affectionately call them, our senseis. HOYA, over the last 80 years, has been dedicated to really thoughtful innovation. And MiYOSMART is one of those innovations. At HOYA, I like to tell all the employees, especially in our operations, that be very thankful for the work we get and treat every job like you're making it for a loved one or friend. And that's that dedicated care. That's one of our pillars. And on top of that, the thorough craftsmanship as well. So these are the things we continue to strive for. So this evening, we couldn't be more thrilled about the result of MiYOSMART IQ and what it means for our industry, and more importantly, what it means for our children. And Oliver, actually, you've got a story about MiYOSMART, how it almost didn't come to be.
Yeah, it was quite a tough call, but first of all, tonight, it's not about us. It's about you and the kids. And let's say, one of the stories, I have two stories, is in our company, we're not measuring the success of MiYOSMART in traditional numbers, like big corporations would do in sales or profit. We measure with one single number, that is how many children did we give the chance jointly with you to escape from fast progressing myopia, and that's what it's all about. That's what we care of. And one of the things, you mentioned it, when MiYOSMART was launched, it started in Hong Kong and China, because especially in Hong Kong, in those cities, that was the beginning of the myopia pandemic, as we would call it today. And myopia management was in the beginning at that time, and MiYOSMART was the first product that started to be interesting, and the study results were getting better. I got in touch with it after the first years of studies. And our former group CEO, Mr. Suzuki, meanwhile retired, that's why I can tell the story, otherwise it would be a bit difficult. He also is one of the members of the funding family of HOYA Corporation, and I had a lengthy discussion with him over 3 quarters to ask him to free up MiYOSMART to be launched in markets outside of Hong Kong and China. And he insisted, he said, well, we can't do this, we don't play with children's eyes. That's one of his main messages. But what he also said is, we can only do it together with optometrists and eye doctors. And so we started to write concepts, how to involve myopia management, how do we do this jointly with you, how do we do it in Europe? You find more eye doctors, more ophthalmologists, so how do we do it right? And that was the starting point of the success story. And tonight, we're super proud to share with you where we are today and what's next on myopia management.
Thank you very much, Oliver. I need to introduce someone else who joined us on the stage. Paul-Andre Desjardins, who's responsible for sales and marketing for Centennial.
Good evening, everyone. So Centennial is very happy to be here and part of the HOYA family. So as HOYA's groundbreaking technology continues to advance, it is enhancing vision and transforming lives, as Stephen and Oliver mentioned. But as myopia continues to grow, so does the patient base. Hence the need to expand the eyewear offering. So we're very happy to be able to, our team has worked very, very closely with the HOYA team to support the pediatric kids, youth, and eyewear category. So we at Centennial can provide you the largest offering in the marketplace right now, from infant to tweens, with exceptional guarantees and services as support to you and to the parents.
It began in 2012. A bold idea, sparked by a simple yet powerful question. How can we change the course of progressive myopia? The answer was MiYOSMART, HOYA's pioneering solution that shaped the field of myopia control. Powered by revolutionary, patent-protected and clinically proven DIMS technology, and backed by more than 100 scientific publications. Trusted by eye care professionals, parents and children in more than 50 countries. We continue to drive our innovations with the latest scientific discoveries, anchored by our long-term partnership with the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. Now, it's time to raise the bar again. Because at HOYA, thoughtful innovation never stops. Introducing MiYOSMART IQ, our most advanced myopia control spectacle lens, with a smarter design, setting a new standard of care in myopia management. MiYOSMART IQ is based on trusted DIMS technology, now with a triple enhanced design. It features an extended treatment zone, a higher defocus power, and defocus segments closer to the center. Every child deserves to feel confident, whether in the classroom, at the playground, or simply exploring the world around them. For eye care professionals, MiYOSMART IQ elevates the standard of care, building on 8 years of trusted results. MiYOSMART IQ, DIMS technology with triple enhanced design. Together, let's raise the bar in the fight against progressive myopia.
Jody Rana, the presenter tonight for Myopia Management Specialist for HOYA, who will be presenting a preview of the MiYOSMART IQ and the latest clinical data.
My name is Jody Rana, licensed optician, myopia specialist for HOYA Vision Care Canada, and I am so honored to be here with you this evening to speak about the latest evolution in myopia management, MiYOSMART IQ. Over the past several years, we've witnessed remarkable progression in our understanding of myopia, but more importantly, in our ability to manage it. What was once considered an inevitable progression towards a stronger prescription is now an area of early and active intervention supported by science, innovation, and a growing commitment to protecting children's long-term visual health. Today, I'd like to take you through that journey of MiYOSMART, how it began, how it's evolved, and how it's led us to this next era of myopia management. Welcome to MiYOSMART IQ. So what makes MiYOSMART unique? MiYOSMART isn't just another lens. It is a true inception, a true innovation since its inception back in 2018 as the first clinically based myopia management spectacle lens on the market. And at the center of it all, our patent-protected DIMS technology, a revolutionary design that went beyond just correcting vision to actively slowing that progression down. That in and of itself redefined what a spectacle lens could do. We are now trusted by parents and eye care professionals in more than 50 countries, already having surpassed 15 million spectacle lenses purchased by parents around the world. That level of adoption, it doesn't happen unless it actually works and unless parents and people actually believe in it. We also have the widest evidence in the category with over 100 scientific publications till date. It's actually almost at 150 scientific publications till date that support MiYOSMART's safety, efficacy, and its overall performance. From a practical standpoint, we also have a full portfolio to support your patient's everyday needs, from photochromics, to polarized, as well as premium coatings. And we'll talk about those in just a minute. And last but definitely not least, MiYOSMART is also the first myopia control spectacle lens with product-specific reimbursement by National Social Security in France. So that really speaks to its clinical value. So when we look at all of this together, the real-world versatility, the deep clinical evidence, MiYOSMART has always stood out in a category of its own. And at HOYA, thoughtful innovation never stops. Year after year, we are committed to expanding, refining, and strengthening the MiYOSMART portfolio. And it all began back in July of 2018 at the global launch of MiYOSMART. It was then brought to the Canadian market in July of 2020, right after things with COVID had kind of reopened back up. And then in May of 2023, we took myopia management outdoors with the very first myopia management spectacle lens with a photochromic solution, and the very first and only myopia management solution with a polarized solution. But that wasn't it. We then experienced our next range extension in December of 2024. So now we were able to support even more myopic patients than ever before. In July of 2025, we then brought the MiYOSMART Full Control coating to the Canadian market. Now, MiYOSMART Full Control, it is a unique premium coating that has antibacterial properties in it. And the way we're able to achieve that, we take silver ions and actually embed them into the actual coating. And that kills up to 99.9% of germs or bacteria on the lens's surface. Now, in addition to that, MiYOSMART Full Control also has additional UV benefits. So I just want to take a quick moment and mention that every single MiYOSMART treatment has full UV protection, but MiYOSMART Full Control offers additional UV protection through that front and that backside. And now, in just a short few weeks, the next evolution in our myopia management portfolio, MiYOSMART IQ. So when you look at this timeline, you can tell it's not just another lens. It is a true ecosystem of innovation built to support more patients in more situations with increasingly advanced technology. But throughout all of those advancements, one question remained. Could we do more? Could we do better? Because when we look at myopia control today, one thing is for sure. Not all children respond to treatment the same way. Even children who are around the same age, even children who have similar prescriptions. Now, MiYOSMART slows down myopia progression by an average of 60%. And that is powerful. However, for some children, it's simply not enough. We also know that myopia in and of itself doesn't progress the same way in every child. For some children, it progresses a little bit slower. For other children, it can progress a little bit more rapidly. We also know certain factors like genetics, early age onset, certain type of lifestyles that can make that progression even faster. Now, for those children, standard control might not be enough. They need more. They need more control, more impact, more protection, and that's exactly why we've taken this next step with MiYOSMART IQ, to raise the bar with what's possible, to elevate the standard of care. Now, MiYOSMART IQ builds on the groundbreaking DIMS technology of MiYOSMART, but it features a triple enhanced design that allows us to activate that near peripheral retina even more effectively, which is what we're referring to as the smart zone. So in order to activate this smart zone, we've made 3 improvements to the lens layout and the design. First, we've extended that treatment zone. We've included more defocus segments. So now that patient gets a consistent and broad myopic defocus, even when they're wearing those larger frames. Second, we've made that defocus stimulus stronger by increasing the defocus power from plus 3.5 diopters to plus 4.5 diopters. So now we're able to deliver a stronger myopic defocus stimulus when and where it's necessary and that matters most. And third, we were able to activate that treatment zone by reducing that clear central area from 9.4 millimeters down to 6.9. So now we're bringing those segments in towards closer to the center of the lens. And together, these enhancements ensure that we're able to deliver a broad, strong, and consistent myopic defocus signal to the near peripheral retina, which, as we know, is the most responsive to that area. Now, one question that often comes up when we're speaking about the enhanced design, the smaller clear area, the higher defocus power, is what's performance going to look like? What's adaption going to look like? So, of course, we had to do a study on this as well. And so what we're looking at here are visual symptoms reported by children from phase 1 of the research on this lens. Those children who wore MiYOSMART IQ, they're shown through the orange dark bar. And those children who were wearing MiYOSMART, the original, are shown and represented with the light orange bar. Now, what's really interesting to see is that across all parameters, glare, distortion, blur, eye strain, there's no significant difference between MiYOSMART IQ and MiYOSMART the original. And overall, the frequency of symptoms also remains low. So this tells us that we were able to increase the technology, bring better efficacy, without ever compromising the visual experience for children. Now, what's equally as impressive as these results is how this data was collected, at least in my opinion. Because concepts like blur, glare, distortion, those can be hard to understand, even for us adults, and to explain. So these researchers, they didn't just ask these kids questions, they legit showed them. So they had visual flashcards to simulate what these symptoms would look like. And so children were then able to accurately identify what it was that they were experiencing. And this is really cool because we can have confidence in the reliability of the data that we're seeing here. Now, in the beginning of this session, I had also said that here at HOYA, we're constantly raising the bar. Now, with MiYOSMART IQ, we'll also be featuring 3 patient-centric improvements. The very first one, a new and improved scratch resistance coating. We know that it's imperative for children to have clear and consistent vision throughout their day. A more robust coating ensures that we're able to enable these children to have clear vision for longer, reducing the need for replacements, and allowing you ECPs and your teams to focus on clinical-related guidance instead of durability-related questions. The second, we are also featuring True Form Aspheric technology, which is a backside freeform technology, so we can expect thinner lenses, superior aesthetics, superior comfort. Now, I know a lot of times when we're thinking about superior comfort and aesthetics, we sometimes overlook the children, right? Because we're thinking that doesn't really matter for them. But I'd like to argue that it's almost more important for these kids because we know that they're much more likely to consistently and happily wear their treatment if they look good and they feel good. Plus, they're that much more confident as well. Now, last but definitely not least, and the one patient-centric improvement that I'm personally the most excited about, another range extension. But this time all the way from +2 all the way to -13 diopters. So now we'll be able to support even more myopic patients than ever before. So think about those anisometropic patients where previously perhaps you might have had to put them into one MiYOSMART and one single vision. We no longer have to do that. So these 3 patient-centric improvements ensure that we're able to fit more patients into MiYOSMART more comfortably with increasingly advanced technology. Now, before we brought MiYOSMART into the market, of course they had to go through a complete clinical testing phase to make sure that it was not only safe and effective, but that it also delivered a level of performance that children truly needed. Now, before I jump into the different phases, I also want to point one thing out. As you know, HOYA is a Japanese company. We're quite reserved when it comes to reporting numbers, which is why oftentimes you'll see us reporting averages. But we're also very transparent because we're doing something different that most others don't do. We're not just sharing the RCT evidence, we're also sharing the first 3 phases of research on the lens, which I'll just quickly take you through right now. So in phase 1, we were focusing solely on safety, right? We were looking at a smaller group of children. We then moved into phase 2. Here we're looking at safety as well as effectiveness. Now, both of these phases, phase 1 and phase 2, they were both presented at ARVO last year. And they also allowed us to look into early indicators of treatment response or treatment success, which is a whole new, let's just call it a whole new world. That in phase 3, we then move into the randomized control trials, the same randomized control trials that you and I and everybody else in this room are used to seeing and comparing when we're comparing myopia management modalities all across the board. So here we were looking at a larger group of children, and we also had 3 legs in this study: single vision, DIMS, and DIMS-TED, because we wanted to compare all 3 neck and neck. Now, post-launch, MiYOSMART IQ will then be into phase 4. Now, phase 4 is where we start to take the clinical scenarios and kind of start to break them apart. So think different age groups, different scenarios with atropine, without. More to come on that. But next, let's get into the part that most people are the most excited about when it comes to MiYOSMART IQ and its game-changing efficacy. So let's first take a look at spherical equivalent of refraction at 12 months. Now, when we're comparing MiYOSMART Classic to single vision, we see a clear reduction in myopia progression, as expected, right? No shock there. But when we're looking at MiYOSMART IQ, we're seeing an even bigger effect. Because at that 12-month mark, MiYOSMART IQ is twice as effective as MiYOSMART in controlling myopia progression, and we're seeing the same story in axial elongation. Now, at this point, a lot of people are like, okay, if MiYOSMART slows down myopia progression by an average of 60%, what does that mean for MiYOSMART IQ? Well, it looks like we're seeing a bit of a shift, a bit of a swing towards the hyperopic side of things, something that we in this industry have never seen before. To take us through some of these findings, I'm going to let Professor Chihoto give us a little bit more insight and take us through the 12-month results.
I'm very pleased to share with you the 12-month randomized control trial with MiYOSMART IQ. We have recruited children of a bit younger age, from 4 to 12 years old. Look at the result on the refractions. For the single vision group, the children progressed by about 0.53 diopter in 12 months, but the MiYOSMART is about a quarter of diopters. And if you look at this MiYOSMART IQ now, the result is quite surprising. There's hardly any myopia progression. If anything, there is a little bit of hyperopic growth. So there's some reversal in terms of the refraction. If you look at the axial elongation, single vision group, they grew by about 0.346 millimeter, and the MiYOSMART is 0.2 millimeter roughly. In the MiYOSMART IQ group, it's only grown minimally at 0.075 millimeter. So the growth is very, very small. The MiYOSMART IQ is really the first spectacle lens to demonstrate a clinical efficacy for very young age children, as young as age 4 and above, as monotherapy.
So are we finally looking at the beginning of the end of myopia progression? Had somebody asked me that 10, 15 years ago, I probably would have laughed. But at this point, I think that is now a fair question to ask. Because at the 12-month mark, those children who wore MiYOSMART IQ showed no myopia progression on average, and eye elongation below or comparable to non-myopic eyes. And what's equally as exciting is who we're seeing these results on, because for the first time, a DIMS technology-based spectacle lens has demonstrated myopia control efficacy in children as young as 4 years old. That marks a major milestone in our own legacy. But as you know, there's not very many treatments out there on the market that show efficacy in children as young as this. Now, in addition to that, what's equally as exciting is what we've seen in those children between the ages of 7 and 12 years old. That's where things get even more compelling. Because when we look at myopia management modalities across the market, many of those modalities have been studied on that age range between 7 to 12 years old. So now, when you try to compare MiYOSMART IQ to anything else across the market, you will see that MiYOSMART IQ, on average, results in an average myopia control efficacy of over 100% and achieved 94% average reduction in axial elongation. This is so much more than myopia progression. This is so much more than slowing myopia progression. This is changing what we all ever thought was possible in myopia management. Because at this point, I feel like we can maybe potentially stop managing myopia and truly start controlling it. So, another question that we often get is, what's going to happen to MiYOSMART, the original? Are you getting rid of it? Are you discontinuing it? No, absolutely not. How could we? Instead, we'll be evolving towards a two-tier myopia control portfolio, where MiYOSMART IQ will be represented as our most premium tier, our most advanced myopia control solution, built on the trusted DIMS technology that offers the best clinical performance. This sets the new standard of care. Who is MiYOSMART IQ ideal for? It's ideal for those early onset patients of yours, those younger patients, those progressive myopic patients that you see year over year, those children who are on atropine, and potentially, maybe even those pre-myopes. MiYOSMART Classic, on the other hand, this remains our proven and trusted tier, and now our most accessible tier. MiYOSMART, the Classic, has been a pioneer in myopia management since its inception. This has helped millions of children worldwide, and it continues to play an important role by expanding access to myopia management for even more families. Together, MiYOSMART and MiYOSMART IQ allows us to expand the reach of myopia management while raising the standard of care. So, to celebrate stopping myopia progression and supporting the back-to-school season, HOYA has introduced a new MiYOSMART Smart Squared promotion. Now, this promotion includes all MiYOSMART, the original treatments: Clear, Sunbird, Full Control, as well as everybody's favorite and golden child, MiYOSMART Chameleon. Together, the two-tier portfolio and Smart Squared promo reflect HOYA's commitment in ensuring more children have access to evidence-based myopia management and that no child gets left behind. When MiYOSMART launched, it changed what many of us thought was possible with spectacle lenses. Today, we've seen the evolution of that, and this is just the beginning. Welcome to this new era of myopia management. Welcome to MiYOSMART IQ.
I got to see HOYA move myopia management from just a niche product to something so much more, right? The launch of MiYOSMART in 2020 in Canada really made myopia management mainstream. And so now, here we are, poised at another tipping point where we are about to launch MiYOSMART IQ. And we're gonna change the game all over again. This time, changing it from maybe managing myopia to truly controlling it. So you've heard tonight a little bit about our commitment to thoughtful innovation and our commitment to improving eye care for all patients at all stages of life, but particularly young patients. So tonight, we've pulled together an expert panel of myopia management doctors, our senseis, if you will, who will be joining me up on stage to discuss some best practices in myopia management and answer some of our common questions that we hear across the country. So first, I'm going to invite Dr. Christine Meisner Dr. Christine Meisner graduated from Illinois College of Optometry in 2011. She now practices full-scope primary care optometry in Ancaster, Ontario. She owns Ancaster Eye Care, which is established multi-doctor practice, but she also co-owns Eyes on Lock, a newer practice that opened in 2023, which features a boutique optical. So she's got two unique clinic situations. She's very passionate about myopia management and making sure her patients get the best possible care and products. Since 2021, she's been consulting and lecturing across Canada, and her main areas of focus are practice management and soft contact lenses. But she also serves on the board of directors for I Recommend, and in her spare time enjoys spending time with her children and her husband. So I will welcome Christine onto the stage.
Thank you. Where do you want me, over here?
Next, I have Dr. Curtis Akerman. Curtis owns Milton Vision and Sports Vision Training Center in Milton, Ontario. He graduated from SUNY in 1999, long-standing focus in myopia control. His early career was spent in Arizona, where he was working in a leading ortho-K practice in the early 2000s. So he's been at this for a very long time. He currently provides full scope care, including myopia control, sports vision, vision therapy, dry eye, special needs, and has recently expanded his sports vision clinic into Mississauga, working in partnership with Ascend Rehabilitation, and his vision therapy services in Milton, working with Playful Strides, supporting autism care. He has 3 children, including twin boys who are recent university graduates, congratulations, and a child with special needs. Next up, we have Dr. Jane Yang. She graduated from New England College of Optometry in Boston in 2019. Dr. Jane Yang is the clinic director and owner for Red House Vision Center in Oshawa. She's a passionate advocate for myopia control and management. And Dr. Yang and her team are on a mission to establish a hub in Durham region for specialized eye care, building awareness from the ground up, quite literally. She brings an academic perspective into everyday practice. Dr. Yang also serves as a post-secondary instructor teaching refraction theory. Dr. Yang and her team focus heavily on proactive community awareness. Raising awareness in families is critical to the importance of early intervention. She's really excited to join us here today on our panel of experts. Welcome, Jane Yang. And last but certainly not least, we have Dr. Jennifer Wan. She is the principal optometrist and co-owner of Ardent Vision Eye Care in Richmond Hill, alongside her husband, Dr. Patrick Eng. She's highly regarded for her patient-centered care and her commitment to public eye health education. She actually hosts a dedicated YouTube channel where she posts really great educational videos to help raise public awareness and understanding in navigating their eye health. If you guys haven't had a chance to check out Dr. Wan's YouTube channel, please do. She really does a great job of breaking down clinical data and explaining things in a very easy to understand, approachable way. Dr. Wan is a passionate advocate for myopia management in children and is one of the highest dispensing eye care practitioners for MiYOSMART in Canada. She's become a destination practice for patients to come to receive their myopia care. So please welcome Dr. Jennifer Wan. So what do you think our professional responsibility is as eye care professionals in managing myopia?
I think our role as ECPs is to stay on top of the technology, know what's available, and really educate our patients, the parents especially, about what's available out there so that they can navigate and guide their children to the best future that they can have.
I think community awareness is really important, especially if you're in an area that's not the GTA and myopia control management, ortho-K is not well known. We're missing out on so many kids and being able to treat them. And that may be going out, meeting with MDs, going to daycares, and trying to get into public schools to to educate the educators and then try to get the parents on board to at least understand what's going on and not let them feel fear, anxiety that something really bad could be happening to their kids.
Yeah, I used to think about myopia control as like a specialty within optometry that maybe required a special skill set like orthokeratology or special equipment. And as time has gone by and newer treatments has become available, my perspective on that has changed. And now I think of myopia management as a really integral, kind of mandatory part of practicing primary care optometry that I can still practice even without necessarily always having access to special equipment.
And you guys have said it all. The just trying to make myopia control accessible to our patients, helping parents understand what does it mean. It's okay to wear glasses. We can have your kids wear glasses and not be changing the experience that you had growing up, getting new glasses every year. We've got great looking glasses. The kids are easily adaptable to them. And just being able to present and say, these are your options. This is what I recommend. I think it's like just a great thing that we can provide.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm a licensed optician. I don't know if I said that when I introduced myself, but I consider myself an ECP. And I would agree, right? I think we have a duty to inform our patients, to let them know what myopia is, what some of the risk factors are, and then that there's a lot that we can do about it and make them feel comfortable with if your child does become myopic. There's things we can do, really easy, safe, effective things we can do. And also, there's things you can do before your child becomes myopic. Get them outside more, look at those lifestyle recommendations, and get them in for their regular eye exams. I think ultimately, as eye care professionals, we have this duty to inform our patients. So we've got a lot of different stages of practice up on the stage here. We've got two doctors who have cold start clinic, taken over a clinic, rebuilding it. We've got long established practices. How did you move from occasional myopia management into routine myopia management?
First of all is you really have to provide really good patient care. Care that's going to transform the ocular health and the vision of your patients. And when you start doing just really good work, the word's going to spread. And I think that's what I didn't realize is that, I thought I need to have some special skills. Whatever I learned on the internet and whatever I paid attention to, I started incorporating that into my education to parents. And I'm very passionate about it because I have 2 girls myself. And I feel like every kid that comes into my presence, I have the responsibility to be their spokesperson, to tell the parents, you can save their eyesight and their future ocular eye health by doing the right things. And it starts with me being super, super clear of what the options are, what the pros and cons are, laying it all out, and even having a little opinion of where I think they should head, and still giving them the option to choose, because at the end of the day, some treatment is better than no treatment. And then, so word of mouth. Okay, so you got really good service, but if no one knows about you, then that's still a problem. So I would say you definitely need to experiment on all marketing means. And when I started, I tried everything. I did flyers. Okay, that didn't work out well. And then I did Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and all those things. And every patient that came in that was new, we asked them, how did you learn about us? And then we actually took notes. And you double down on the ones that, on the methods that bring in new leads, obviously, and stop the ones that don't work. And it's as simple as that. For us, it was YouTube, but number one was still word of mouth.
And I think that's a really excellent point, that you need to track what you do, that you're not just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks.
So I will say that one of the keys for me is I really believe in that we can use the expertise of other optometrists. I still don't do ortho-K in my practice, but I believe that patients where that's right for them should have access to it. So I have a trusted colleague in my area who I can refer for that. And that helped me kind of overcome that sort of mindset barrier of being able to still practice myopia control without doing that particular subspecialty. I also feel like it's important to get your team on board from a philosophical standpoint of the why behind myopia control. So training my team to understand why it's so important and all of the risks of progression so that they are empowered to talk to patients about their options and to really stand with me behind our values of the importance of controlling myopia.
Some people might be uncomfortable with myopia management because they don't have an axial length machine, which is, supposed to be the standard and best practice. But for those who have the machine, I would say it helps your colleagues who don't have the machine to offer it. So in our office, we have a biometer, and anyone in the area who wants to better manage their patients but don't have it or don't have the funds to be able to purchase one, they can come to us. And same thing, if you don't have it, reach out. I'm sure there's somebody in the area who's more than happy to share that machine with you, send you the results, and no poaching is happening, and just kind of build, just independent practice is so important that we all stick together.
Yeah. We offer 2 other clinics in our area that if they want to send for biometry or topography or any of the testing that we have that isn't standard, not everybody can put $100,000 into equipment for the highest level of care that you can in all those areas. Not everybody needs that, but sometimes you might want to use it and lean on a friend. We're happy to help. We'll give the results, but we'll also explain them if you need help.
I love that. I love the collaborative care and working amongst the community. I really liked what you said, Dr. Meisner, about having your team on board with your philosophy. I think it's so powerful if at every stage of the patient journey, your customer is hearing a united message, because they're going to have questions all along the way. Once the doctor says, okay, your child's myopic and we need to look at myopia management options, they're going to be overwhelmed. They leave the exam room, they come out, and then they have a million questions. So you need your team to be able to answer that confidently, or at least direct them to somebody that can. So a really great practice is to have a myopia management specialist within your team, or to empower your whole team to be confident to support that myopia management message at all stages in the patient journey. Little plug for HOYA, sorry. We do have a really great myopia care specialist program. Talk to your HOYA territory manager. We can educate through all stages of that patient journey so that your whole team can feel comfortable and empowered to have those conversations. So now back to the panel. What advice would you give to a practice that's still hesitant about fully adopting myopia management?
I used to think that the axial length machine was sort of a barrier. Without it, you cannot do proper care. That's what my mindset originally. But going back to one of your earlier questions, changing your mindset is the most important. But even if you don't have the machine, let's say nobody in the area has one, you can still educate. And remember that even pre-myopes, those who are mildly hyperopic, who are around 6 or 7 years old, they're very likely to become myopic. And having that conversation with parents, even before it happens, so that they're prepared and they don't have to feel concerned, or they're concerned, but now they're like, okay, there's something we can do about it. That is definitely the way that I encourage everyone to try to approach it. And that way we don't leave any kids just, they just come back in a few years. The kids don't know their eyes are blurry, and they come back and they're already very much nearsighted. And there's so many patients as I was transitioning where I'm like, oh, I wish I had seen you like 2 or 3 or 5 years ago, because there's so much more we can do now for you that we can't now. We still can do some, but we could have done so much more.
Yeah, you can't go backwards, right? Yeah. So, raising awareness early.
Well, maybe with the MiYOSMART IQ, there's a little bit of hyperopic growth.
Maybe a little bit.
I mean, there's really no excuse knowing what we know about myopia and knowing what we know about the risk of disease progression and glaucoma risk and retinal holes and tears, and knowing that now we have safe and effective solutions to lower that risk of really disease long term. And knowing that we can do these things using something as simple as glasses, which our patients are wearing anyway, I really think at the very least we have an obligation of optometrists to be offering these treatments to our patients. And it doesn't mean that we have to call ourselves myopia specialists. It doesn't mean we have to necessarily invest in this equipment. But we really have to think about if our goal is to keep people having healthy eyes long term, and now we have a solution for like a major risk factor for disease, we do have an obligation to offer that to our patients. So I do take that seriously, and I don't think we should be intimidated by it.
I practiced myopia control for about 20 years without a biometer. I was a little hesitant, honestly, because we didn't know what a normal eye was doing. As the research came out and we learned that how emmetropic eyes were growing, then we actually had something to compare to. And a few years ago, I did bring a biometer in, and I do learn quite a bit from that. I have one patient today who's been in MiYOSMART since 2021. I do cycloplegic exams on all of my myopia control patients to make sure I'm not over-minusing them. So I had this kid pinned, -1, doing great. Came in today for a follow-up at -50. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Cornea is the same, we have topography. Axial length is the same. That only leaves the lens. So his lens has changed. Is he emmetropizing? I've never seen it before in a spectacle wearer. Is he got something going on medically? So I sent his mom, I said, let's go just make sure sugar's okay, kidneys are okay, there's nothing else going on that would be atypical for a 13-year-old. Right? So there are some little pieces where you might take a -1 patient who's got an axial length of 25.5 millimeters at 9 years old, where atypically long eyes that will have a higher retinal risk long term. The biometer can help us say, hey, we need to be more aggressive with that kid. Maybe I don't put that kid in a regular MiYOSMART. Maybe I'm putting them in the MiYOSMART IQ, or I might recommend the MiYOSMART IQ or Ortho-K a little bit more as they're more effective. So I use it to help kind of guide which path we're going to go down in those areas.
By actively recommending myopia management, we have so many amazing evidence-based treatment options in our toolkit that we absolutely should be making these recommendations. But if you can level up and have that biometer and take those axial length measurements, we don't see a correlation directly between axial length and the prescription all the time. So it can help you be more precise in how you practice.
And I will say, HOYA will help you with your biometer acquisition if it's something that you're interested in. Talk to your rep. And thinking about bringing one in, I'm not sure if I can make it work. They can help you understand that a little bit better and see if they can help facilitate that for you.
We would love to have that conversation and support you in leveling up like that. How many, by show of hands, in the audience right now has a biometer? Less than half.
I feel better. I'm the only one here that does not have a biometer in my practice. So my stance, I think the closest thing to the closest analogy is the OCT machine and the fundus camera. Okay, so how many of you guys have the OCT machine? That's a lot. How many of you have the fundus camera? Yeah. So, in the ideal world, we want everything. I want everything. I want to be able to spot something that looks a little suspicious and know right away. But we're humans, doctors are humans. We have families to raise, and we gotta stay in business, right? And being someone who did a cold start, I can say I have to make very, very wise choices in terms of what to invest in. And biometer is not one of the things I brought into the clinic right away, nor do I think I have the means in the short term, okay? But I think Kim mentioned that we are a growing practice and we still dispense a lot. And I think, I just kind of keep doing what I can with the means I have, and sometimes that's very, very powerful. It's like, I think back to before I worked for other doctors, they don't have okay lenses, but that was the only thing. I would still educate them because I know that's the one thing they can try. And then there was low dose atropine, and I go like, oh, you can get those drops at this pharmacy. You gotta go look for a compounding pharmacy. You gotta keep telling them what's out there. Then there was MiSight, and then there was MiYOSMART, and now there's MiYOSMART IQ. And I think oftentimes, you know, when I graduated, there was nothing taught in school regarding axial length, like myometers, stuff like that. You know, we still manage. Sometimes we forget that there is still a strong correlation between refractive error and axial length. Yes, there are exceptions, but by the majority, there is a close correlation that you guys, we all graduated and have the ability to detect to some accuracy, myopia, okay? And that's why we have our licenses, right? So acting with the tools you have is the most important thing, and really caring enough at every point, whatever you have, even just a voice, is all you need. And and that's why I really think, like what Christine said, like no excuse. You gotta just do what you can.
The most important thing is taking care of the myopia. You don't need that biometer to do that. Like literally 20 years of practice without one. The myopia control was working before the biometer. It's just giving me a better way to understand it. So don't let that be a barrier for you to entry. And as you grow, you'll find that you want more toys and more tools and more ways to understand what's happening. And that's the time that it's time to step in.
Yeah, I will say too, at my smaller practice, it's like a tiny one-lane kind of boutique practice. I really have no space or plans for a axial length machine at that practice. So knowing that, and knowing that I may not be able to identify those extra fast progressors or the extra long, axial length paces at that practice, I mean, my values is if there's like a best solution and a good solution, I'm gonna start by recommending the best solution to everybody anyway. So without that axial length measurement, it makes me maybe even more likely to reach for MiYOSMART IQ as my first choice for everyone, just to eliminate any risk of missing someone who could potentially be like a fast progressor. That's me, and that's like a clinical decision that I would probably lean towards in the absence of that axial length.
And I think that's a reasonable approach, like top down, be as protective as you can.
Yeah.
You know, whatever the parents can access, obviously, but the most control is the better option.
I was just gonna say MiYOSMART IQ has the most robust research behind it. So even if you don't have the fancy tools and fancy machines, same as what you guys are saying. Like when you dispense MiYOSMART IQ, you know that's backed by so many years of experience and no progression on average.
Yeah, I mean, MiYOSMART has over 100 publications behind it today. And in all kinds of different clinical scenarios, different age groups, different ethnicities, in combination, there's so much evidence you can trust there, breaking down all kinds of clinical questions. And then all of that research and development has come together to give us IQ, which is obviously delivering us absolutely incredible efficacy to give you even more confidence in practice. So that was really well said, all of you. Thank you so much. I'm going to shift gears a little bit and ask you about your approach to low myopes, or maybe even pre-myopes. What do you do? How do you handle that?
So, like I was saying earlier, statistically, anyone who is 6 years old or less who has 0.75 hyperopia or less is likely to be nearsighted or become myopic. So you can have that discussion. Whether you choose to treat them or not, that really depends on the discussion you have with the parent. I usually go with we can go a more conservative approach or really treat it aggressively, and that really depends on the parent values as well and what they're concerned about, plus consider family history and lifestyle of the child. I have no issue treating pre-myopes when it makes sense to. Of course, it's a huge commitment too financially for parents because their kid is not myopic yet. So from their side, if you kind of understand from their side, it's like they're putting in a lot of money for something that they don't even know will happen yet. The axial length machine is a nice tool to really demonstrate it because it's predictive. But even without it, if parents are concerned, it's definitely a discussion to have. Or if parents find that the price point is a bit too much, then having more regular follow-ups with them, manage it, and just have that discussion with them so they know that you guys, as doctors, practitioners, are ready. Should something happen, and then their kids will be taken care of.
So when, like I have a fairly pediatric heavy practice. So I'm having that talk like right from 6 months old. Hey, should be about a +3 now. I'm only seeing a +1. Let's watch a little more closely. Or like you said, you know, a 5-year-old who's a +50 or 0. Parents like, yes, we're both nearsighted. They're not nearsighted. It's like, yeah, sort of for now until next year. So I will go through, I'm not going to talk about Ortho-K and MiYOSMART necessarily if they're +50 or plano, but I will introduce that your child's at high risk for developing myopia. As a vision therapy provider, we do really push on visual hygiene. I use a modified rule of 20. No closer than 20 inches. You know, what does that mean? Straight arms for the kids. No longer than 20 minutes at a time. Take a 20-minute break doing something 20 feet away, which pretty much means outside. With that approach, you know, we're really proactive. I have a sheet that lays out all the different kinds of myopia. I say, take a picture of this. The bottom is the free stuff. That's what you can do at home. And then we're going to watch. And if it starts to change, we're going to be ready. And your kid doesn't need to become a -5 like you are. You know, we can stop that. We can slow that down significantly, both for the vision and for the long-term health of their eyes. So we get really heavy into the visual hygiene. In our regular MiYOSMART patients, so we've tracked that. For anybody who doesn't know, like if the prescription changes by a half diopter or more, we kind of cut it at a year. We'll remake the glasses at no charge with the updated prescription. Usually we'll add atropine, or now what I've been doing with some of those kids is switching them to IQ, or sometimes Ortho-K. But when we're having that talk, it's like we need to prep for that. We need to be ready to be more proactive with our visual hygiene. Our redo rate is 6%. So 94% of our MiYOSMART patients have not needed to update their prescriptions just by changing their habits. Now I hammer them. Like, I'm big, I'm scary. You know, I scare the parents, I scare the kids. What are we gonna do? Yeah, no. What are we gonna do? You know, we're gonna wear our glasses full time. And I find that the kids that we have that are still changing with our MiYOSMART, usually it's compliance. You know, wearing their glasses down their nose. I had one today, came back, changed a half diopter in 3 months. Axial length went up by 0.4 millimeters in 3 months. That's a lot. I'm kind of shaking my head. I turn around, the mom's like, he takes them off for reading. I'm like, oh my God. You know, no, they're all the time glasses. You know, if we're prescribing myopia control is a lifestyle. It's from the time you wake up till the time you go to bed. And we need to help the kids get access to that.
Yeah, I would agree with all that, for sure. I'm of the mind that any degree of myopia, I don't care if you're a -50, any amount deserves that's all abnormal. That's the beginning of a higher myope. Nobody stays at a -50. That'd be pretty rare as they age and grow. All of those kids are being offered treatment of some kind. So at least having the conversation with the parents, offering them treatment. The low hyperopes, I'm excited to potentially start having the discussion with those. Think about my own kids. I'm a -5. My husband was about a -7 before he had LASIK. My kids are 8 and 10, and somehow they're still hyperopic. But like, it's coming for sure. So I'm really excited to try this new lens on my own kids, and I think that'll actually help me feel more comfortable having conversations like this with parents as well.
One of the things I'll add outside the MiYOSMART realm, I am looking at visual posture. So those low plus kids that are ESO posture, they're getting an ad. They're getting glasses for reading. My wife was a -4 before she had LASIK. Now she's a -2. Her brother was a -5 before LASIK. Now he's a -5 again. So my kids were super high risk. You know, my twin boys, our kids were all preemies, so higher risk. We put the boys in an ad for reading. My daughter had ROP, super preemie, like 26 weeker. So she had some myopia with that. We didn't have MiYOSMART in the early 2000s. You know, it just wasn't an option. I'm not putting a nonverbal kid in ortho-K. Like I see a lot of special needs kids, safety first, right? If they can't tell me that there's a problem, I shouldn't be trusting them to do that. So we put her in an ad. We put her in it was actually a +3, no, an active 8 for the old HOYA people. And then now she's been wearing a +3 for a little while. She's 21 now. But her myopia was mostly stable. We tried to control as much as we could. But we just didn't have a good option for her. Like today, if I had that kid, and a lot of the special needs kids that we see in our clinic, they're getting MiYOSMART. Also, for those who aren't in the VT community at all, exotropes, like 95% of exotropes will be myopic by the time they're 20. Most of them will be high myopes. So get them into VT, get them into MiYOSMART or something like that, or IQ preferably at this point, because they are rapid progressors. But yeah, we give low ads for low plus as well.
So start to raise awareness, get them on the free stuff, outdoor time, and holding stuff farther away, taking regular breaks. Now we can experiment. I can't wait to see the case studies of your children. I'm curious if you're going to put them in the chameleon photochromic to help with compliance.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I see no reason why not.
Yeah, I think if they can have like the shades in their glasses, it helps if they don't actually need to wear them, right?
Yeah.
So how do you decide which option to start with?
So I think we all need to do our homework and ask this question like in our quiet time. And I think I did that a lot when I was really thinking of how I can put content to benefit people online, like my expertise. And I convinced myself through the study results and all that, that I know the efficacy of each, and I am in the camp of efficacy. Okay, so the most effective myopia control, I need them to know that, because obviously that is going to be my first choice. And my conclusion at that point before MiYOSMART IQ was MiYOSMART. Okay, and if you disagree, that's okay, but you can go on my YouTube channel and see like my reasoning. It does win on many occasions in that I think most of the myopia methods I can at least claim 50% control. MiYOSMART is very humble to say 60%. I think a lot of us in clinic actually see a little bit more than that. But in any case, it is up there as most efficacious. It is the safest. I don't have to worry about infections, about a corneal scar that could potentially cause vision loss. So that's one of those things that, unfortunately for me, that's why I did not bring in the myometer in to let myself have like orthokeratology lenses as an option, because I wrote that out. Like sometimes I think you need to be strongly, like you have a strong opinion, loosely held. If like there was 0 chance of it, then I'll put it back on my and then really just in order of the things that I can safely manage for them, I listed out, which then to me was MiYOSMART, low-dose atropine, and my sight contact lenses. And I still tell them about orthokeratology lenses, because I think I'm in the trenches, because I'm from Hong Kong, and you heard, like, we are the worst, like we have the worst genetics. We have the fastest progressing. It's really bad, okay? That's why I dispense the most too. So basically, with that, I think it's just really knowing your stuff and then saying it with conviction to your patients, but still allowing them option, because at the end of the day, some of them will say no glasses. There's no reason to it. Just no glasses. I don't want to see them in glasses. Once they wear it, they'll never come off of it. It'll make their eyes bad. Like, no matter what you say to them, it goes. But at least you told them options that still work, right? And then you can guide them. If it's the MiSight ones, I can help with that. I can couple that with low-dose atropine and still make it work really well. And if you really, really don't want the lenses to fall off or whatever, okay, there's orthokeratology right there, and you can explore that. So always laying out the options, make sure they don't do nothing, because then the kids' eyes are toast.
The most effective option is something that the kids are going to wear,
Yes.
right? And so MiYOSMART's super easy to understand, easy to put on and fit, offering that full gambit of treatment options, making sure they know what's out there so that it fits into their lifestyle too. So I know you do a lot of Ortho-K, Curtis.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe expand on when you might choose?
So I'll counterpoint a
different?
little bit, sort of, but
Yeah.
like I've done a lot of Ortho-K. Our practice in Arizona is one of the biggest Ortho-K practices in North America. So I got a lot of experience young with it. Now I'm less young. I've had 3 adverse events in 25 years. Okay, 2 of them were friends. 1 of them was not. The one friend's kid had acanthamoeba. They lived in the country. I got a call on Friday, always Friday. His eye's been red since Monday, and it's getting worse. Okay, we have this talk all the time. Do you stop wearing the lenses? No. Come in, have him bring his lenses, let me take a look. So we use ClearCare, hydrogen peroxide, good solution. Brings in a solution. The case was black, the liquid was black. And I looked at it and I was like, what is going on? What have you been putting in here? And he said, well, the tap water. Right? Also, that's bad. They live in the country, so it's well water. Okay? How long have you been doing this? A few months. Okay? So that was bad. The other one was my friend's kid. They did a bathroom renovation, and she was doing her Ortho-K in the bedroom for a month without changing her solution. Okay? Both, like, she was 8. Like, the parent should have been in on that. We have those talks every visit. The third one was bad luck. This is, like, to me, a true adverse event. Kid was sick. All of our Ortho-K kids have to stop wearing their lenses when they're sick. Mother didn't make her stop, did a neti rinse, probably put the water into the eye through the nasolacrimal duct. Boom, infection, got treated. Out of the 3 of them, none of them had any vision loss, okay? The safety of Ortho-K microbially compared to soft lenses is actually pretty similar with proper care. Our Ortho-K stabilization through those years, when I quote my patients, I say 95%. Our patients don't change. I had one change this year that we figured out. She had a 2 diopter change with no change in axial length or cornea. She's being investigated for medical issues, okay? I've had kids in Ortho-K for 7, 10, 15 years. And when we stop, their prescription invariably is almost the same as when we start, much like the IQ. So when MiYOSMART came out, I was super nervous. I was like, I hope this works, because Ortho-K really works, and I don't want to be putting people into something that didn't work. And then it worked. Like, we follow our patients every 3 months. We're super on top of them. Gets the families in the office. We're checking biometry. We're checking their vision. A little handheld, a little glasses adjustment to make sure they're not sliding down. All those things are really important. It lets us catch changes earlier so that we don't let them change as much. Add atropine if we need to. Interesting thing right now is I've got some of these kids on MiYOSMART with atropine who've been coming in. It's like, what do I do? You know, hey, atropine's not free, right? Like, I found out our atropine clinic in town was selling it for $50. I had a parent ask me to come off it because the price had gone up to $150 because some people's insurances were covering it, so that's what they were charging. So I was like, oh, well, if we switch you now to the MiYOSMART IQ that we have available, it's a little bit more expensive than what we're charging for the regular MiYOSMART. but I'm taking all those patients off atropine, based on the studies. Now we'll see. I don't expect 100% stability in IQ or in MiYOSMART, but man, it's working really well. So, or in IQ or in Ortho-K, but I'll add atropine if I need to, but if a kid doesn't need to be on a drop every day, like there is a psychological component to that, there is a little bit of an accommodative component, about 2 diopters, so you got to be careful with kids that are having accommodation issues. My preference, in my presentation to parents, I kind of go top down. So it's Ortho-K and IQ, MiYOSMART. I use Ability instead of MySight. I'm not a big hydrogel fan. We used to treat 2 to 3 ulcers a week in the early 2000s with hydrogel wear, daily wear. We switched them into silicone. We were part of the studies for that. I treated 2 ulcers in the next 2 years, right? Like switching materials totally eliminated it. So we're a fan of the breathable materials. Sorry, I'm like getting off topic here, but so we go top down. Atropine for me is I'll add it on if we need it. I don't love it as a first line treatment. Like we have optical therapies, it's not less expensive. Even at $50 a month, that's $600 a year. That more than makes up the difference from going to the MiYOSMART to the MiYOSMART IQ. Okay? If we're doing soft lenses, I'm also giving them MiYOSMART. If I'm doing Ability, I want them in myopia control when they're not wearing their Ability lenses or whatever soft lens they're going to use.
Yeah, it's good to have a backup. MiYOSMART's a perfect backup.
So I present all of the options, and then I say these are the 2 that I would choose between, and I will steer. With a lot of my special needs kids, they're going MiYOSMART, and they're going to be going MiYOSMART IQ now. I see a lot of nonverbals, so.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I mean, they have to have a certain level of understanding and responsibility to be able to handle some of the more, I guess we'll say, complicated treatments, right?
And I think, like, if you're not comfortable with Ortho-K and you're really worried about causing damage, referring for Ortho-K might not be the best thing. Because if something happens to that, you're not caring for that patient anymore. Like, we take referrals, if anybody wants to refer. And I will take good care of your patients. But if something happens to that patient and you set them up for that thing, it's like when we refer for cataract surgery and something happens, right? So you're really trusting that other doctor to take good care, and you're trusting the parent and the kid to take good care as well. So, like, I wouldn't expect you to be referring a lot of Ortho-K if it's not something that you're comfortable with. And I think that's proper judgment. Like, that's professional judgment, that stay in your comfort zone and be responsible to your patients.
It's interesting, we're talking a lot about different treatment options and different efficacies and how to combine them and what to do if things progress. But I'm really excited to look forward to the next few years and see how MiYOSMART IQ really performs on its own.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that this new option is going to simplify my myopia management practice to the point where we're not talking about like the cost of atropine so much, And I still see myself potentially experimenting with combining it with some soft myopia control contact lenses, because like you said, the best myopia control is the thing that the person's going to wear. So if I have a kid who's going to take their glasses off to play hockey because it doesn't fit under the helmet, you better believe I'm going to give them something that has a myopia control component to wear for those situations. But I'll still be having a conversation with the parents, being like, listen, MiYOSMART IQ is the best, and the studies that showed it's the best were done under full-time wear conditions. Mm-hmm. So if we are combining it with something that makes your child only wearing the MiYOSMART IQ part-time, we may just have to watch a little closer and make sure we're not compromising anything in terms of progression. But overall, I'm really excited to see if this whole conversation is simpler in a couple of years once we see how it goes.
We talk a lot about how we start myopia management. We've spoken about how you raise awareness and how you make those recommendations and choices for your patients. How do you stop? And so Curtis, you kind of gave me a little segue. You were talking about a patient that was having some rebound. We know with MiYOSMART we don't see rebound effect, but I've still asked all the time, when do I stop treatment? How do I know? And what do I do about that?
So I have that conversation before we start. Every parent asks the same questions depending on what we're doing. how long do we do this for? How much do we have to do it? When can we stop doing it? So I'll feed them the questions as I'm going through if they haven't already interrupted me with them. And I'll say, you know, the next question you want to ask me is how long do I need to do this for? And I'll usually say, you know, back in the day we used to talk about myopia progression up till 18, and then everything was going to be great after that. Yeah, you know, the school years are really where we want to hit, in my opinion. You know, you got grade school, high school. There's so much computer, tablet reading in college and university now that we're seeing people progress into their mid-20s pretty consistently. I don't have any studies for that, but clinically that's what we see. For my ortho-K patients, I've always said, we'll have a talk when you get to college or university. I do the same with my other kids, with MiYOSMART or any of the other options. You know, we're going to talk as we go. We're going to be watching your progression. How long have you been stable for? If somebody's been, I'll get parents sometimes say, okay, we've been doing this since they were 12 and now they're 17. Can we stop? And then we go through all the data. Okay, their prescription's been stable. They've been increasing maybe 3/4 of a diopter over the last 5 years, which isn't too bad. You know, it probably means that it would have been 2 diopters if we hadn't done the control. So I might be a little more conservative with that person as opposed to somebody who's been stable for a while. And then I tell them, you know, we can try stopping, and if we start ramping up again, we can start again. The studies show that if you stop MiYOSMART and there's progression, if you start it again, the control works again. So you can stop and start if you're wondering.
I think those university years, there's a lot of intense near work, right? So we want to be still monitoring them closely there. We know from the original MiYOSMART study where we followed those children over 8 years, we see that it remains effective up to the age of 21. So you can absolutely keep them in it in their young adulthood. But what about like tapering off? So you say, okay, we can take them off. How often do you see them back when you take them out of treatment?
We keep watching every 3 months at that point, just for a little bit. And if we're seeing stability, then we'll go to 6 and then we'll go to 12.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, when MiYOSMART was first launched, the studies I think at that time went to age 15.
Yeah.
So as somebody who like lives by clinical data, I was like, okay, up to age 15. But if you think about it, I mean, I'm a -5. I continued progressing until like optometry school. I was probably 23. Of course, I do have an exo posture, and I've just learned that makes me a fast progressor. So now I feel like just with having more clinical experience and having a little more like comfort and knowledge, it's a conversation with myself and my patient and the parent, and we kind of make the decision together, knowing that, you know, once they get into their late teens, early 20s, we've done a good job with them, and if we do see it continue to progress, we can always start again. So,
Last one, another question I get asked a lot is how do we handle care whenever an ophthalmologist is involved? If you're co-managing care or somebody needs to go for a second opinion to their ophthalmologist, how do you handle that? And I know one person on our panel here has some experience with an ophthalmologist right in-house.
Yes.
In the red house.
Yes. Yeah, so we have an ophthalmologist in our office, and I'm sure some of you guys have had experiences working with them or learning about their opinions about myopia management. I would say for me, the approach is it's the patient first. And regardless of what the ophthalmologist feels or thinks about the treatment, if you are doing your research, you are staying up to date with all of the studies, you are doing what's best for your patient, for the little kid, and especially with MiYOSMART IQ, because there's basically the safety profile is perfectly fine, then there's no harm. And an ophthalmologist just really shouldn't have nothing to say about that. We're not putting something on the eye, we're not dropping something into the eye. The studies are robust, and if they truly don't believe in it, then there is just nothing you can do except advocate for your patient. And hopefully, in the future, more younger ophthalmologists are more on board with myopia management, especially if we're doing our part to make sure that we know what we're doing, that we're staying up to date, and we're doing our follow-ups, and then taking care to make sure that we're doing what's best for the little ones.
So do you use the studies at all, like either to advocate with the ophthalmologist or to support your recommendation for the parents?
I would say an ophthalmologist who's open.
Yeah.
So usually they're the younger ones. Yes, the studies, almost like educating them, because they are very understanding of the studies as well. They're open to it. But some of them, which are older, you might not be able to do anything. So you just do your best.
One last question to wrap things up, and I'm going to ask each one of you to answer this one. What is one immediate step any ECP can take to improve their myopia management practice today?
You can start educating your patients as soon, even if they're not myopes. That's really important. If you have an axial length machine, you should consider using it on all your pediatric patients because it gives you a lot of data, and it is the easiest way is to show the parents the likelihood of their progression. Even if they're not nearsighted, it's a good way to screen, and then you can use it as a way to track their change over time.
If you guys have kids, it's going to be really easy, but if you don't, imagine you have one precious little darling, and imagine them at each stage and what you would do for your kid, then you better do that for your patients. Because why should there be a difference?
I think you're doing the first step. If this is your first step, learn a little. Reach out to somebody who does a lot of myopia control if you have questions. We're a pretty open community, very welcoming. And just educate. The one thing I will tell all of you, in every part of your practice, whether it's myopia control or dry eye or whatever, have an employee assigned to be the leader in that. Now you might only have one employee, so they're going to be a leader in a lot of areas potentially, right? That means it's on you to educate that person in a lot of different areas. We invest in our staff very heavily in their education, but we have a myopia leader, we have a dispensing leader, we have somebody who leads for the lab, we have somebody who's a contact lens leader. So anytime there's a question in the clinic, everybody in the office knows I need to go to this person because they're the one who's going to take care of it. Our myopia control person really understands all the pieces of myopia that I do. They understand, they actually help me now with my follow-ups. So they're checking the axial length, they're checking the acuity, they're giving me a heads up before I go in with the patient. This looks good, this doesn't look good, or I don't know what's going on. So it just makes it more efficient.
Okay, I have two, but I promise I'll be quick. So number one would be learn how to frame your conversation surrounding myopia control in a positive light,
Yes.
right? As much as I'm talking about doom and gloom and we have an obligation and this and that, at the end of the day, it's amazing that we have this opportunity to slow down or halt the progression of myopia. We are saving kids from having potentially vision-threatening eye disease in the future. These are opportunities that people of my generation and really everyone in this room didn't have access to. So we should be presenting this as an amazing opportunity for the kids in our practice.
Yeah.
Number two is I would just encourage everyone to connect with your HOYA territory manager if you feel like there's anything you could benefit from in terms of staff training or training on yourself in this technology or any way that can help you integrate into your practices.
First, give it up for our amazing Sensei panel here tonight. And thank you all for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time and join us to celebrate this exciting launch of MiYOSMART IQ coming to you soon.